Hi, welcome to All Night with Tim Sto. I'm your host, Tim Sto. We have two great guests tonight. We have John Boy, rapper, musician, artist, producer, and we also have Emily Hagins, director. But before we get to our wonderful guests, we're going to introduce the 5 stupid people of the week. Starting one. Number 1, the dumbest person, Florida Congress. They passed another law, about banning any device that can gamble online. So apparently my laptop and my cell phone are both illegal devices. Number 2, dumbest person, is Tara Reid. She's the star of the all-new movie Sharknado. I kid you not, it is a tornado, typhoon, with sharks inside that sweeps through a city eating people. When it interviewed Tara Reid why she did this, she said, "I thought it was a great idea and I would be so happy to do a sequel." I don't know who saw the first one. Number 3, Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber. Apparently he got drunk in a restaurant, or so we believe, and he peed in a bucket while using exclamations to Bill Clinton. Number 4, we have the Death Valley, what are they called? Patrons. Death Valley Park patrons. They went to the park, and apparently they were cooking eggs on the ground. What started as a simple show of cooking an egg on the ground, one of the park rangers put an egg in a frying pan and placed it on the ground and cooked it. Now there's been hundreds of park patrons that have been cooking eggs all over the ground, and now the park has issued a press release asking people to stop cooking eggs on the ground because they don't have enough time to clean them all. And number 5, our dumbest person of the week, is a technician in China. You won't believe this. He was working on the Jumbotron with his laptop, and then when he finished his work, before disconnecting his laptop, he then started watching a pornographic movie, which was connected to the Jumbotron still. And so now displayed over the whole railway system in Jilin was a pornographic movie. He watched it for about 10 minutes before he got a call from his supervisor, apparently killing his buzz. All right, we're going to move on to our guests, and hope we have a great show tonight. Hi, we'd like to welcome our guest, Emily Hagins, director of the new film Grow Up Tony Phillips. Hi, Emily.
Hi, thanks for having me.
We're so glad to have you. You directed the film Tony Phillips, but your first film you did back when you were 12, and that took a lot of, when I was 12, I wasn't doing much. I was just kind of, playing video games in the basement with my friend, or skateboarding until 2 in the morning, and, getting taken home by the police or something. Oh. So, silly things like this.
It sounds like a movie.
So, you were directing a movie, though, so how did you get this drive to go through with this?
Yeah, well, I think part of it came from not really knowing what I couldn't do, because being 12, you're not super familiar with the world or what really goes into making a feature film. And I had done some production assistant work on another feature film, and it was just in my brain, it's like making a short film, but every day. And that sounded fun and not too difficult, but it was. It took several years. And at the end of the day, I was kind of getting close to finishing the movie, and it was not going so well, and someone said, "Well, you don't have to finish it." And then that was the first time it ever occurred to me, because it had been maybe a year and a half or 2 years, and I was like, "What? Well, that doesn't sound right." So then I just finished it.
And then you're like, I'll just do it.
Yeah, I guess that's the kind of magic of it of making movies in general even, is that it takes so much spirit and love of everyone involved, and it really shows through in whatever your movie is. And my first movie is not good in any way, but it's kind of put together with a lot of love and passion, and that's something I try to carry on. Yeah,
it's great. Yeah, you can definitely see the passion in there.
Yeah.
I encourage people to go and check your movie. It's a great movie, actually, for
the kind
of being a little kid. You were a little kid. You were 12. Come on. So, but that means, since you're spending, you said, almost 2 years working on this film, about 2 years, do you feel like you maybe lost some of your childhood from this? You could have been, like I said, I was out there, playing Zelda or, skateboarding out with my friends till 2 in the morning or something. Do you feel like you maybe missed out something special there?
Well, I think that the way I look back on things without regretting, I don't know, things I wasn't able to do or things that I just chose not to do, is just knowing that I was really happy doing what I was doing. And I think if I wasn't making movies, I would have just been sitting in a dark room watching movies. And at least making movies is a little bit more social. So. A little bit. But I don't know. It's just, I kind of always knew from the time I made a short film, because before that I was writing and telling stories, and it just suddenly all made sense, and I love the I don't know, ability to kind of put it all together and to watch people watch what I've made. And so that's never gone away or even faded since I was a little kid making short films.
Oh, great! Yeah, I mean, because you were a judge on South by Southwest. That's, I mean, that's a big deal. I mean, that's not a small feat by any means.
And
then,
fun.
I'm sure. And then you had a documentary made about you.
Mm-hmm. That was weird.
Yeah, how did that feel? Because you're usually behind the camera, right? You're used to writing films, like you said, and directing, and now you're in front of the camera. I mean, how did that transpire, the whole process? Yeah,
well, they had seen an ad I put online saying, like, I'm a kid making a feature film and looking for actors. And they said, that's weird. And so then they called me and asked if they could just shoot a segment for their public access show, because they were just chronicling Austin productions on their show. And so then the more we talked about it, they said, well, what if we tried to make this a feature? And so they followed me the whole time I was making Pathogen, and then a little bit past then when I was like speaking at summer camps and kind of moving on to my next project and kind of just to finish up their film. So they actually followed me for like 3 years for that movie. And it's really weird to watch, and it's mostly about my relationship with my mom and not so much just like a technical how-to make a film when you're 12. I don't know, so it's kind of weird to watch like so much of my life kind of squished into like a 90-minute movie, especially like the most awkward years of my life. My shirts are too big or too small, and I'm spitting because I don't know how to talk. I don't know. Like, I just...
You're not spitting on me now,
No, I'm a grown-up now. Legally an adult, so I don't do that anymore.
Okay,
yeah.
Oh, that's great.
20 years old. Yeah, I think it's weird in a way to have that documentary, because there's also like my mistakes forever on, you know, people have seen them, strangers have seen them.
Yeah, but do you think that might be like a good thing though, for you to see your mistakes? You actually can grow. I mean, sometimes people don't get a lot of feedback. They don't get a lot of true feedback.
Yeah, definitely.
On their work. And do you think this helped you maybe grow more?
Yeah, well, I was really grateful to have it when I was going into my second film, because it was so, I guess like, I was able to take the technical things and really like pinpoint where things went wrong and kind of fix them a little bit. But since then, my movies have really gone further technically, so my problems with my Handycam don't really translate to shooting on the Alexa or the Red or something, you know.
Exactly.
Which I'm sure like problems with these cameras will be different from, you know, movies in the future, because technology is always changing. And that's kind of a benefit that we have now.
That's a really cool thing. Cameras are a lot cheaper and easier to come by.
Yeah, for sure.
So, for a progression, as you know, you can see your prior work and you can see what you've done. You also see a progression in your films. Like, you started off in horror and with Pathogen, and now we can see a progression. There's a huge jump in My Sucky Teen Romance from there. It's almost like a stark contrast. I mean, yeah, it has some of these elements of horror, and, you know, with vampirism and things like this, but it's not a true. It's like we have lots of things in here. So is this why are you trying to transition as a director, or are you trying to try out new things, try out where you're good at, or
well, there's definitely some of that in there. But what some people don't know is that I made another film in between Pathogen and Sucky Teen Romance that was so dark and depressing and a terrible experience and took so much time. Started it when I was like 13 and finished it when I was 15, and every second of it was an awful time. Like, things were just constantly going wrong, and the movie's bad, and I don't talk about it or show it to anybody. And but I had to go that dark because I was really into horror to see like that I didn't really want to make dark movies like that, at least for a while. So that's why Sucky Teen Romance is so lighthearted and poppy and like colorful, and I really wanted to make something with more comedic elements. And then Grow Up Tony Phillips after that.
Yeah, that's your newest one, right?
Out.
Yeah, the newest one, Grown Up Tony Phillips.
Yeah.
It's still set in Halloween, though.
Yeah, but it's more
so you got this Halloween thing. You can't get away from, like, I feel like you're like, oh, I gotta throw a monster in there somewhere.
Yeah, there's something. But, yeah, kind of why I chose the Halloween aesthetic and why I chose the convention aesthetic for Sucky Teen Romance is I love this homemade feeling that I think is kind of missing from a lot of really big budget movies where they could just afford everything in the world as far as, you know, set design and production design, because they can create these fantastical pieces. But what about everyday people that just want to make something cool? It's kind of made out of duct tape and cardboard and stuff. And I think there's something really sweet and endearing.
Don't look under there. It's all duct tape and cardboard.
Oh, man. Well, it's really sweet
careful.
endearing. Yeah. No, because I think that's something that a lot of people can identify with. I'm not a rich kid. Those are the things I made, and that's why I love cosplay. Is because people put so much time and use only the things that they can get, and then people applaud them and take pictures of them, and they feel really special for something that they were really able to accomplish on their own, and not something that they needed a lot of money to do. So I always love that aesthetic.
Grow up Tony Phillips. You should just tell us about this. Where did it come from? Like you said, it's a completely different atmosphere. Even it's how did this come about? I mean, you see your films as they go, and Tony Phillips, where did it come from?
Yeah, well, this was an interesting project for me because so much of what I've done has really come from my own voice as a girl or as a geek.
You're a girl?
I guess or things that have happened to me, and this movie was so much about my friend Tony, who really needed a girl. No, I'm just kidding.
You need a girlfriend, guys. If you know any girl.
Yeah, it's an intervention movie. But he's always played this comedic relief character in my movies, and I really believed in him to play a dramatic role that had some funny parts where he could be Tony playing Tony, and in a real movie, not just something where he was just delivering a bunch of one-liners and stuff.
Yeah.
So it was really a collaboration process from the start because I wanted to set it at Halloween, but that was really the only thing that I wanted to do, and we really talked about what the movie should be and thematically how to represent these different ideas of growing up in these characters that surround Tony. It's just about the transition and not point A to point B, and how important those things are, but really the time when you're figuring that stuff out, because I think that's what gets overlooked a lot in teen movies sometimes, because it's all about, we gotta get the alcohol to the party.
Yeah.
I just kind of described Superbad, and I like that movie. I don't mean that as
it's a good movie,
to that movie, but I just didn't want to make a movie like that. I didn't want it to be about the drugs and sex and the alcohol, of being
the
a
bad
teenager.
decisions of being a teenager.
Yeah.
So when is this movie being released, Grow Up Tony Phillips? Is it?
Yeah, Halloween this year.
Halloween this year.
Yeah, VOD and then DVD after that.
Sweet. So, all right, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, after trick-or-treating or whatever you're doing.
Check out Tony Phillips.
run a movie about a kid too old to be trick-or-treating.
Yeah.
But yeah, I should know pretty soon about actual, dates and ways of getting it, but all I know for sure is Halloween this year.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Emily, for being on our show, and thank you for
that was interesting.
You're more interesting than you ever know. I mean, you do so many things. We're so glad to have you. And while you get more information about Emily, check out her website, and you can see her new film, Grow Up Tony Phillips, coming out this October. Hi, I'd like to welcome our next guest, John Boy, rapper and producer. Hi, John Boy.
It's a pleasure. Thank you guys for having me on the show.
So, let's start at the beginning. I mean, when you first started out doing rap, I mean, how did that even come about? I mean, we know before that you wanted to do basketball, and that was you were really into it, really deep, but you tore your ACL. I mean, what's the whole story with that?
Well, here's the thing. I started off as a basketball player. All right, and in 2003, it was my last year in high school. I tore my ACL, and I laid in my mother's bed for about 6 months, 4 to 6 months, and I was that was the lowest point of my life, or at the time.
Yeah,
I just kind of figured, okay, I had a chance to go to college. I turned the college degree down at the time, and I'm just laying in my mother's bed. At the time, I was about 200 pounds, and now I'm getting in the ones. This is not going to work,
Yeah.
And so I just decided, hey, how about I try and be constructive? How about I do something with my time? And that's when I went to Walmart. I went and picked up a live microphone, and it just went from there. So it went from the live microphone to the software, and all of a sudden to the radio.
It's crazy. It's that's just just kind of exploded, huh?
Yeah, pretty much.
But a lot of your music we see is a lot of. I mean, is it a lot of self-reflective? I know you've had after high school, there's been a lot of issues going on in your life. Primarily with your brother, I know he's a big part of your life. Your name is even inspired by your brother's name.
Yeah.
I mean, what was the whole thing that happened with that?
Well,
If you will let us know.
Well, the thing is my brother, his real name is Jonathan Sean Gooseby.
Mm.
All right, and so there was a time where we could not control him, you know, and this was way before I even decided I wanted to do music. We could not control him, and so he kind of just went on his own way. He decided, hey, I want to drop out of high school, and I want to hang out with these guys. Of course, guys meaning friends, gang members, you know, nothing against gang members, but sometimes
it's gone the wrong way, though.
Yeah, it goes the wrong way. But anyways, he decides he wants to commit a crime. And they give him 50 years. They gave him 50 years. And from that day forward, I just told myself, well, I need to find a way to represent my brother. And people use T-shirts. They get tattoos. I'm not big on tattoos, and so I just decided, hey, let me go and use his name, John Boy. And I've been using it ever since.
Nice, that's a good story. Yeah, so a lot of your music then, is that reflective of your personal life? Like, we see a lot of your stuff. It's not traditional in the fact that you're not just talking about having a good time and partying. And is this a lot come from your personal experience?
It's more or less emotion. You know, life experiences. I think every great artist, this is what they do, you know, especially when it comes to someone having an album go platinum. It's because they put their emotion in it, their life, their heart, and that's basically what I do every time I lace a track, you know. And I mean, that's pretty much everything as far as along the lines of how I do my music and what inspires me. But when it comes to my brother, I feel like I've done enough by just using his name, and so I don't base every track on his situation.
Yeah, it's understandable. Yeah, you're giving him some sort of manifestation then through your name.
Yeah,
that's great. No, that's a great thing. And you have is it your third or fourth album, Transition?
Well, okay, yeah, I have a lot to tell you about that.
Oh, all right.
Actually, my first album is going to release in August.
Okay, so your first release is going to be August.
Yes. Transition, never released.
Never released.
I continued. I've done 3 mixtapes. Transition was supposed to be the first album.
All right, that's what I was talking about. That's the first album.
Yeah, but I ran into legal problems with it. Meaning, and we had, I was at a point where I hadn't even made it like past the underground level, and once the radio stations began to play certain singles that were on Transition, people started saying, hey, well, you did this in our studio, how about you pay us or we'll take you to court. And so I just swiped the entire project.
So the studio was trying to claim ownership of your record?
Yes. Ownership.
Awful.
You recorded this beat in here. You should have told us before you decided you wanted to release it, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, just trying to get some money from you.
Yeah.
That's awful, man. So is that, so now you do producing work as well. Is that how this kind of like manifested and how it grew?
Mm-hmm.
Was it because of these situations maybe?
Yeah, I decided, hey, I'm tired of messing with managing companies. And there's so many people who swear that they can manage you, but it's like, hey, you can't help me if I'm not willing to help myself, and so I decided to take matters into my own hands, and that's where you have John Boy Music, Universal Sounds, and from there, I mean, we record music, produce, we have videos, something else I got to tell you about too.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that later in the following video.
But that's everything in a nutshell as to why I'm doing what I'm doing now. Yeah,
that's great. Yeah, that's a great inspiration. And let's talk about your new piece, Genesis, that you're going to be releasing, and you have another video from that too you're going to be doing. Can you tell us about Genesis? I mean, you talk about transition, and because transition, was that point in your life, was a transition. Genesis, I mean, is this a start over, or is this a new start? What is this Genesis?
Yeah, Genesis is a new start. Here's the thing. I worked a contracting job, and I continued to travel. Kept me away from home. And my thing is that I'm big on religion, and so I tend to listen. I listen to a lot of words. I listen to a lot of signs, and, I was contracting. I kept traveling. And every time I would travel, I would take my equipment with me, but it was so hard for me to write. And it was tough for me to write because, like, my spirit was not agreeing with what I was writing. And it didn't have substance. And so I decided, hey, maybe I should try writing something that makes sense. How about something that would change someone's life? And one week, I continued. Every night I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I just prayed. I said, why am I waking up? And the sign I got was, hey, you need to go forward. You need to do this music on your own, meaning break away from all management. And that's the reason I started John Boy Music Group,
That's where it came
Universal
from.
Sound. Yes. And that's where Genesis came from. So on Genesis, you have a compilation of tracks that are designed to promote change, strength. Just it gives you a sense of, how can I say it, a sense of relief or an outway when you're going through. And for instance, I have a track titled Fallen.
Mm-hmm.
Fallen describes an everyday life, meaning people going through divorces, bills, kids being rebellious. But throughout the song, throughout the video, you see how they change their lives, how they turn things around for the better. And that's what Genesis is about.
And you see this with your work here, like I said, you're like very conscientious, and so we also your other parts of your life. You're involved in a lot of charitable organizations and things like this. What are the ones that you spend the most time with?
I spend a lot of time in the community, especially dealing with the children, and the reason for that is because they need guidance. Killeen, Texas, or let's just say the entire world. These kids nowadays are losing control. You have all the shooting sprees, and of course the bullying. And while we're on this, I'll go ahead and touch on it. I decided to, anti-bullying. I decided to do bullying because kids, and it's not that bullying, but that term is new. It's actually been happening, just
from the beginning of time. Bullying thousands of years.
I sat down and I started to think, why is bullying getting up here? And it's because it's an expectation now. It's expected. And children, they don't know how to not do something just because it's famous. The media has made bullying famous, and now kids are like, hey, I can be a bully because it's cool. And for me, I'm just thinking, maybe I should throw a skit within, my area and promote anti-bullying and explain why bullying is not cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so do you have any personal experience with bullying, or you see this as a trend that's happening? And
I see it as a trend. My thing is, and I'm glad you asked me that.
Yeah, because that's a really interesting thing, I think.
With the music award, what I decided to do is do something for the kids. All right, I wanted to be the Youth Music Awards ceremony, and if you guys have not paid attention, they have taken art out of the school systems.
Yeah, a lot of schools cut it.
Yeah, or they are beginning. They're beginning to take it away. And so, if you really think about it, if you take the artistic side of a child, or of their ability out of the school, what are they supposed to turn to? Music. Not everyone has the ability to do music.
Yeah, look at me. I'm the worst singer in the world.
and so I just decided to throw an event to where the kids can get up, showcase their talent, have fun, and just be free. They need an outway. They need to understand that you do not have to live within a box just because society says this is what you should do. So that's the reason I'm doing that show. And another reason is to also raise funds that way I can go on tour with the USO, which is the military. Within the Fort Hood base, and they travel to different countries and different states.
That's great. That's a great cause. So we talked about Genesis, and let's go back real fast about falling. You're releasing a music video for this. What's the theme of falling here? If we can touch on that, please.
The theme of falling. Wow, that's a good question. What is the theme of falling? It's not really. I won't say that there's a theme. It's family oriented, and it promotes, for instance. And I'll break it down per verse. First verse talks about an Army guy who was having problems at home, and it was time for him to leave. He didn't want to listen to his mother nor his father, so they put him on a plane or a taxi, leave. All right. Second verse is about a young girl who her parents would never pay attention to her, and she got rebellious. She winds up getting pregnant, and they didn't realize that until 6 months later. So she has a child. She leaves off to Colorado. And the third verse actually focuses on the parents. And I chose to do this verse because this is why families have divorces. This is why families don't succeed, and it's because of finances. Like, as a family, we get caught up on money, a job, you know, and throughout the verse it talks about how the dad would never listen to the mother. All right, he would never listen to the mother, and she kept telling him, "Hey, you need to save. You need to save money." The dad was, "Nah, all right." You know, if you listen to the verse, you understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
But she would always tell him save. And after 19 years, he lost his job. He didn't have one penny. But the upside is, by him having that fall, he began to pay more, well, let me say close attention or more attention to his wife versus just brushing her off. And from that point on, you know, he turned around his life. The family grew together. They got tighter. And all of a sudden, at the end of the song, you realize that everybody I talked about per verse, it was actually, per verse, it was actually a big family.
That's a pretty deep song. That's why, is that the reason you chose this song to make the video from this album? Or?
Yeah. I feel like this one here will be a lead. I chose it to be the lead because that's just how I felt at the time, and I wanted it to set the mood for the entire album.
Yeah.
And while I'm on this, A-Town Productions actually shot it, and they're in the Austin area, and the quality of it is far beyond MTV, BET quality. And I chose to shoot with these guys because of the shots. Like, they really take in-depth shots, and I don't know, just took the video to another level. But that's Fallen, and I will have it released in August.
Comes out in August.
Yes.
Okay. The same time as the Genesis? It's the same time?
Yes.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. So we're going to take a look real fast at Falling. If you take a second, check it out.
Came home and started looking at the ceiling, and then he began to cry like he was searching for a reason. He said he lost his job and was stressing about the bills, and he ain't have a dime saved after 19 years. So what that mean? Everything finna tighten up. I should've listened to you, girl. You couldn't been right enough. She used to tell him put up for a rainy day, but he would never listen. So the karma put him in a place where everything came clear as can be. So when his wife spoke, the words flowed comfortably. Everything took a turn as he began to see a major thing taking place within his family.
Thank John Boy for being on our show. Make sure you do check out his new album in August coming out, Genesis, as well as a new video, Falling. Thank you for watching All Night with Tim Sto. Make sure you come back to our website and check out our guests for next week and other upcoming campaigns that we have going on.